Hello, welcome to HITC Sport. Alright, let's take a look at football's biggest laughingstocks from every year. Well, going back to 2004 anyway. The lads that made that year their own for all the wrong reasons. 2004, Canu. 2004 was not Canu's year. This is a fellow who won the Champions League at the age of 18. And now it was 9 years later and he was going an entire calendar year scoring just one goal. Lad, it's your job to score goals. If I put out one video a year, I'd be wrote to Shaw. No, but in all seriousness, I would have probably been drowned in a shallow bath by my boss. But honestly, one goal in 12 months. It's a type of record that someone like Jesse Lingard might be proud of. But for a man of Canu's prowess, that was pitiful. Yes, he was technically a member of the Invincibles that season, but he also got just more than a fraction of minutes on the pitch than the goddamn tea lady. But this was the reason he makes this list, right? It's November 2004. West Brom are trailing Middlesbrough by just one goal at home. It's the 88th minute. A low cross fizzes in across the box. Canu is standing literally 2 yards out from the goal. Honestly, you could have stuck a dead cat in the goal mouth and that would have scored. Just flick out a toe, anything. Breathe at the ball. What happened next?
Was Canu Howler worst in history? Impossible miss from Canu spoils Robson's return. A-League does a Canu with crazy open goal missed down under.
Really, it's over a decade later, and acts of striking ineptitude are simply coined as doing a Canu. That's when you know you've pulled off something hilariously tragic. So I'm guessing that in the year 2028, making love to a scarf in a public toilet will be known as doing an Irish guy, otherwise known as Graham Norton's boyfriend's favourite pastime. That felt weird. 2005, Peter Crouch. I could have gone for Jonathan Woodgate. You wait 13 months to make your debut for the biggest club on the planet, and then you score an own goal and get sent off in that match in your first game back. You honestly couldn't write it. The only way you could write a more depressing story is if your name was Lemony Snicket. The only thing Woodgate had done since arriving in Madrid from Newcastle the previous summer was get injured, get stuck in the treatment room, and possibly forget who or what a barber's was. I mean, how else do you explain the dead ferret stuck in his head? The poor fella though, I mean, it's like getting married to a supermodel, but for some reason I mean, wait 30 months to consummate it, and so when you finally get to the big moment, you instead just leave a puddle on her knee. I'm not gonna go for Woodgate though, I'm gonna go for Peter Crouch. Not only did this man do a celebration for Southampton in April of that year by giving a large to Andy Johnson for scoring a bastard penalty.
You don't save those?
Peter, it's an unchallenged free shot from 12 yards. I would be shocked if you couldn't score those. It's like giving yourself a pat on the back for punching an old man in the face. As a certain whiskey salesman proved, that is not exactly hard. Not only that, when Crouch sealed the dream move to Liverpool in the summer, he had to wait 22 matches to score a goddamn goal, even missing a penalty robbed off Stevie G along the way. Can you imagine if Twitter existed back in 2005? That lad would have been compared to a human lamppost every second day. 2006, Marco Materazzi. Yeah, I know he became a world champion that year, alright? Marco Materazzi definitely had the last laugh. But unlike many of you, I remember the summer of 2006. Unlike most of you, I wasn't nestling in my mother's womb. I wasn't a burst condom away from existing. I was alive, present, and watching the World Cup final with my own two eyes. I remember the memes, the annoying memes of Materazzi getting headbutted by Zidane over and over and over and over and over and over again. Yes, well done. A grown man gets headbutted by another man. Did the internet really have to break because of this? Most of you won't remember the days of dial-up internet, but that was back when you tried to connect to the server and it just made sounds like a whale giving birth. But did a statue really need to be built because of this moment? Well, honestly lads, it's not that big a deal. Well, whip out your Pokemon Go in North Dublin anytime after 9 PM. You'll be headbutted within 20 seconds. Actually, considering it's Pokemon Go, you'd probably be chopped into pieces and fed to the pigs. And rightly so. 2007, David Nugent. Here's the scenario.
11th July 2007. Nugent steals £6 million Portsmouth move.
1 month later, Harry Redknapp is actively trying to sell him to Derby County, the worst team the Premier League had ever seen.
It's no secret Derby would like to buy him. His old manager fancies him at Derby. We'll have to wait and see. If I have to raise some money to buy a top player, it's who you get an offer for.
What a vote of confidence for your new signing. It's like matching someone with Tinder and then when you finally meet her, you proceed to spend the entire date trying to set her up with your ugly cousin. You know, the one whose face looks like it was hit by a train. I mean, mixed messages much? And so, if rotting on the bench behind a manager who clearly didn't rate him wasn't bad enough, the papers then decided to release a photo of him posing naked in a bathroom stall. To be fair, he only had himself to blame, but honestly, that autumn, Nugent must have felt like poking his eyes out with a rusty fork. 2008, John Terry. Oh, John Terry, after taking the chance to cement his legend at Chelsea by taking the match-winning spot kick in a Champions League final. And yet his selfishness is want to be the centre of attention, to have that future statue erected outside Stamford Bridge. It all backfired spectacularly. I know Nicholas Anelka ended up missing too, but Terry, honestly, why take a potentially winning Champions League spot kick off your goddamn centre forward? That's like pleading with the train conductor to let you drive the thing to France. Just no. 2009 Philippe Melo. Look at this for a chain of events.
30th June 2009, Arsenal target Philippe Melo signs new contract with Fiorentina.
Great, nice new 5-year deal for the Brazil international. We'll time to Fiorentina until June 2013. So pipe down Arsenal, go away, hands off Melo, everyone is happy.
15th July 2009, Juventus beat Arsenal to Melo signing.
But the contract he just signed. What? Alright, he clearly must have signed it with invisible ink then, because clearly it doesn't count. Clearly he showed that contract all the respect he might show in empty fish and chip paper. It was literally 2 weeks. 2 weeks and you change your mind. Do 5-year contracts not mean anything now? 2010 Rob Green. I mean, Emil Heskey seems like an obvious choice. For some reason dragged kicking and screaming to a World Cup and then placed in the first team. Despite being in his mid-30s and clearly posing about as much threat to a defence as a paralytic kitten. For Christ's sake, he'd only scored 5 goals in 45 appearances for Aston Villa. That's 1 in 8, Capello. But no, I'm gonna go for Rob Green, right? I have to. It was a mistake that has defined his career. Spilling the tamest of shots from Clint Dempsey under his legs and into the net. If that happened at training, it would be embarrassing, but at a World Cup, for one of the most scrutinised national teams in world football, a potential career suicide. 2011 Fernando Torres. Never has a footballer fallen so harder and faster than this. The previous year, Fernando Torres was a world champion and arguably the most feared centre forward on the planet. 2011 was the year he lit his reputation on fire, and in a very bad way if I'm not being clear. A British record £50 million arrival at Chelsea in January 2011. It took him 3 months to score a goal. 3 months, 50 million. Did that open the floodgates? Did it balls? The poor man scored 3 league goals in the entire calendar year. 3 league goals? At Liverpool, he did those numbers in 1 bastard game. And to cap it all off, for once he was the deadliest finisher in the land. Could score with his eyes closed. Now he couldn't even bang one in from 6 yards into an unguarded net.
Is Fernando Torres' miss against Manchester United the worst ever?
Oh, Fernando, what happened to you? 2012 Nicholas Bendtner. Lord Nicholas Bendtner. This was the year he managed to tie up a loan move to Juventus. A ridiculous goddamn move considering he was one of the worst Arsenal strikers known to mankind. It's a bit like when Juve inflicted John Lamb Boomsong on their set of fans. It didn't really make any sense. Do they not realise the pull power they possess? You're Juventus. Stop shopping in the bin for freebies. It's a bit like Margot Robbie continuing to get off with homeless men down the bus shelter. I mean, know your worth? This was also the year Bendtner was arrested a couple of times and picking up bans and £80,000 fines for flashing some sponsored underwear at Euro 2012. 2013 Marouane Fellaini. Okay, to be fair, the first part of 2013 was alright for Marouane Fellaini. And then he ends up a deadline day signing for Manchester United. An awkward, bumbling sort of player that never would have been identified as a marquee signing at Manchester United of even 2 years earlier. He was a good player, but he had the physique of a goddamn wardrobe. Man United fans are used to seeing ball playing, box-to-box midfield dynamos, not Screech from Saved by the Bell lining up alongside Tom Cleverley. 2014 Steven Gerrard. 2014 was the year of clowns. It truly was the year for people falling flat on their arse. I could have gone with Fred, arguably the most laughable Brazilian centre forward I have ever seen in my entire life. Josie Altidore went on a hilariously terrible run in front of goal for Sunderland. There was also David Luiz with a performance of epic dreadfulness, shipping 7 in a World Cup semi-final. Just weeks after tying up a £50 million move to PSG, the Parisians were no doubt hurriedly rummaging through their filing cabinet for the goddamn receipt after this one, but no. I'm not gonna go for him. I'm sorry, Liverpool fans. The answer has to be, you know what's coming. It has to be Steven Gerrard. Don't blame me, right? Blame the legions of fans up and down the country who reminded him and everyone from here to Timbuktu of him slipping on his backside every other week. We all remember the chants. The fans were merciless. This was the moment Steven Gerrard's career pretty much ended as we know it. A world-class player instead relegated to becoming a Slippy G meme on the internet for a while. Unfair possibly, but I mean that is the power of Twitter. Oh, and to make matters worse, Gerrard was directly responsible for that Luis Suarez second goal, which pretty much dumped England out of the World Cup after just 2 games. And to top it all off, the final pie to his face was being forced to travel to Real Madrid, the Santiago Bernabeu, and take his place on the bench beside Glenn Johnson, while the likes of Joe Allen and Fabio Borini started. 2015 Radamel Falcao. This entire year was a complete and utter nightmare for Radamel Falcao. A world star at all of his previous clubs. His 18 months in England were a complete and utter embarrassment. In 2015 he scored a combined 3 league goals for both Manchester United and Chelsea. For a man of his talents, that is a total joke. That year was made all the more farcical by the fact that to make his transfer permanent, Chelsea were quoted a fee of £44 million. Based on his previous performances, the man wasn't worth 2 egg salads and a Diet Coke. 2016 Joe Hart. Joe Hart, wow! This was the year your career fell to bits. You can blame Pep Guardiola all you want. The Spaniard was about 500 miles away when you were spilling those easy shots at Euro 2016. There were the gaffes against Russia and Iceland, the demotion to Man City's third choice keeper, before being hurriedly stuffed in the box and dumped on Torino's doorstep. And he wasn't even any good there. 2017 Jack Rodwell. Jack Rodwell won a football game in February 2017. A 4-0 win at Crystal Palace. Great stuff. It was his first win in which he started a game. In 1,370 days. That is 2.5 years. His winless run stretched to 39 games. The man was on £70,000 a week. I'm sorry, that is absolutely pathetic. And then he has the gall, the temerity, to suggest that he should be starting for England. Get in the bin. 2018 Loris Karius. Arguably the biggest footballing meme of all time. I don't care what Loris Karius does next, right? He can win the World Cup, he can take a Ballon d'Or home for himself, he can solve world hunger, anything. I don't care. The only thing this man will be known for when he retires is taking a gigantic dump on Liverpool's Champions League hopes. It was the worst performance I've ever seen in a major final. Ever. Completely at fault for 2 of the goals. Yeah, he might have had a concussion, alright, but my grandmother's been in a coma for the last 6 years and she would have stopped at least one of them. Last year, lads, he was football's biggest laughingstock. Almost of all time. 2019 Alexis Sanchez. You know what? I think I'm just going to have to go with Alexis Sanchez. On $500,000 a week to being relegated to sitting on the bench by the likes of Jesse Lingard and Tahith Chong. It's mid-October and his goals tally for the year stands at 1. Alright, that's it, lads. Let me know. Have I been too harsh with some of these laughing stocks? Let me know. Is there a bigger one I've missed out on? Yeah, tell me in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like, share, and subscribe. And as always, I'll talk to you in a while.